Hello.
Okay.
Is that the Visions theme?
Hello.
How do I know? I
And-
still don't have it memorized. I still don't have the Visions theme
my
memorized. I should.
James is immediately laggy again. Hello,
whatever.
everyone. Welcome to another edition of Star Wars Visions music and sound commentary. We are the Band Batch. I'm Chrysanthe or Xanthe. This is James right there, and that's Justin. And today we're going to be talking all about the music and sound in episode 3, The Twins. So should be a lot. It's a very
my goodness.
dense. It's a very, very dense. It's a very action-packed, dense episode in general. So, if at any point you have any comments in the chat or any highlights that you want to point out, by all means, please drop them in the chat. And also, we're gonna have a little bit of a quiz portion as usual. So, we'll take turns doing some highlights, but we'll also just talk about what on earth is happening here. So, what do y'all think?
Wow.
Or does someone want to start with
Oh. Well, it was like you were just saying, Xanthe. It was such an action-packed episode of just everything on top of each other, almost like crazy through-composed score. Like the entire time, it was really hard to find moments to transcribe because a lot of the sound was just on top of it, and a lot of lightsaber sounds. This was produced by Trigger, as anime studio Trigger, which, funny enough, produced one of my favorite animes called Kill la Kill, which is just like this episode in the sense where it's just non-stop, over the top everything. So it was kind of fun to witness, to see their take on Star Wars.
Totally.
who scored that?
Oh, I just lost the name. Kill la Kill was by, I can't remember, but I think it was a different person for this episode of Visions.
This one was Michiru Ōshima.
Right. Let me look this up real quick.
Well, this was my introduction to Trigger, and gosh, I went through such an arc with the twins. I went through I've gone through a bit of a transformation over the past few weeks, if I may say so myself. Hello, Jonah. First of all, last week we left off saying that we weren't going to share our opinions on the twins until stream. So we have not talked with each other in advance about how we felt about it. So let's do that now. I guess we've been doing that.
So
Kind of.
this is an interesting episode. It's a little bit. What's the word? It's like
Dense.
dense, or just like it's kind of like it's on one. It's like this episode is to me. Okay, this is my. And I don't want to be too disparaging, because actually I really like this episode actually, but I will say that I did find it so over the top in some ways that I and so okay. The best way I can describe it is it's almost like you took somebody that was sleep deprived, right? And was trying maybe half asleep, and you showed them every Star Wars movie, right? In the span of 24 hours, right? And then you sat them down and was like, okay, now just write an anime script, based on everything that you saw. And they try to rip it out of their subconscious and they put it onto this script. That's what this feels like. It's there's all of a sudden he is dressed like Han Solo for a second. There's twins, but they're not quite types of twins. There's 2 Star Destroyers that are connected at the hip,
Yes.
it's right. It's kind of Yeah, it's so many hodgepodges of like everything about the whole, and then there's like the Last Jedi moment at the end,
Yes.
with
Mm-hmm.
the Holdo maneuver.
Yeah.
And it's like it really just feels like it's just like this crazy like trip of like a Star Wars fever dream. That's what this whole thing felt like.
That's
Like
a really good description. A
It
Star
was
Wars fever dream.
it's a
even
fantastic
the score
description.
even the score felt like an unfocused version of John Williams. Like it felt like the whole thing was just like Circus Maximus John Williams Star Wars and music. It's
I
like
actually
couldn't
disagree.
really, oh, okay.
But the circusy I agree with.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not saying that it sounded like John Williams. I don't think it actually sounded like John Williams, like very much.
Yeah.
So, but to me, it sounded like somebody that was like trying to cram everything it's like they listened to all of John Williams's music in the last like 48 hours and then like spilled it all out into the score. So yeah, it was just a very like, holy crap, that was a lot of information in this episode.
Yes.
Totally. Which
So anyway,
for me, oh sorry.
no,
No, I was
that's
just
it.
for me, which
That was a good thing, though.
which for me was actually a reason why I really liked this episode, because
Yeah.
I've seen a few things by Trigger, and that seems to be very much their like thing, is to cram as much in from every kind of resource as possible. If you watch a
Right.
couple of their other stuff, it's just like that. It's, oh my goodness, every trope, every reference, every type of whatever, just coming at you at full force. Which is was just, like I said, for me, just kind of fun to see. Having watched a couple of their other things before, I guess I was more used to it, so it didn't phase me as much in a way. So I was kind of able to kind of take it all in and be like, okay, I see what they're doing. I see what they're doing. I love and especially with a lot of the references, I'm taking it to a galaxy far, far away.
Right.
And then her response was, "Don't be foolish," which I thought was like, "Come on, easy quip, man." Which I thought was hilarious.
Then there was the like, there is no try, just do.
Yes, from the droid, our duo,
right?
Or
that's one of those moments where it's like the person was writing it down, like they just watched like Empire Strikes Back like last night, but they also watched like 3 other Star Wars movies after they watched Empire Strikes Back. And they're like, what was that quote that Yoda said? I don't know. It's like something like, "There's no try, do," and they like wrote it into the script. It's like there was a couple moments like that.
And then just like the immense overpowering of, say, like the Kyber crystal, these dark suits when she becomes like when Am becomes what I was calling General Grievous Part 2, with like 6. I got 6 instead of 4.
Right.
Kind of a thing. And I'm sure we'll get to this part a little later, but the hyperdrive, like the little call out to the Holdo maneuver, like you said, but let's find a way to top it just one more. He's on the edge of an X-wing with a lightsaber that's reaching through the whole thing, a multicolored lightsaber. It was definitely a lot of fun, in my opinion. Xanthe, what did you think?
At first, I didn't get it. I mean, I still don't really get it. I'm not sure I fully have a grasp on what happens in it. As usual. And I think like I said, I kind of went on a journey with this. At first, I was just like, oh my gosh, this was a lot. This was like very overstimulating in every way. And it wasn't like necessarily a bad, like I was sort of like, ooh, colors, oh, cool shot, like, oh, that's cool, like it was like a lot of shiny stuff. And I thought there was like a lot of, like, I have to say, like that final shot was like, I love it. I love that final shot with like the lightsaber going through and it tilts. I mean, I love that. The music felt super, super fast. Like everything felt fast though. It wasn't just like a comment I had about the music. It was just, it matched with the pace of everything. And because I just like had no clue like how to sort of insert myself into this to even know where to start, because I just was like, it was like blah all at me. I tried to like pull at some threads that felt more familiar. So one thing is like, out of all the Star Wars cartoons, James, what would you say this is most like?
Out of all the Star Wars cartoons, I mean, are you talking about canon cartoons?
Yeah,
Okay, so out of canon cartoons,
the scoring style. Yeah,
oh, the scoring
yeah,
style.
yeah.
Mm.
And
This
Justin, you
is
can
kind
answer
of,
this too. But
this felt to me like a little bit like Resistance.
yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. And yeah, so I use that as kind of a point of like very like I was trying to think like why Resistance, even though like the 3D cartoon or like the 3D shows have been also fast paced. There's something I feel like the Resistance has a fast pace while also a more orchestral bed to it. Like I feel like it's also a bit more orchestral, and this also felt fast, but like it also was orchestral, like it.
Hmm.
And so I think that is one of the things. And another thing, because I just was like so curious about this, like so I watched the first thing I did was I looked up the composer and I listened to several more of her albums to see what her style is like. And when I tell you I am shocked, I am absolutely shocked. The first album of hers that I listened to was a string quartet. Like, and it's honestly like I love it. Like it's like one of, I feel like if I feel like it's better than like the Dvorak, like American string quartet. Like I feel like it's an amazing string quartet, and I think,
Cool.
and she recorded it with the Ravel string, or yeah, I think it's even better than like Ravel's. I don't know. It sounded kind of Ravel like, but it was like, it sounded more like authentic in a way. Because it's anyway. I have to tell you, it's called like It's called like the East String Quartet or something like, and I don't know. Just basically what I'm saying is like, oh yeah, it's called For the East. Michiru Ōshima, Ravel Quartet recorded it. It's like not cinema. It's not a score. It's just like a straight up string quartet, like a classical string quartet, and it's like goes into like the nuclear bomb and like all this other stuff. It's an amazing string quartet. And so like I know that. So what I'm saying is like this is a composer who's been composing in like many mediums for decades.
Yeah.
So she's actually like a veteran, and so she's not some like person who just knows how to score really fast animated whatever stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
And then I listened to some of her other like soundtracks and music too. And so the point is like the score that she did for this was definitely a choice and like definitely a stylistic, like
Yeah.
definitely for the style. And then when I don't know if you watched the director special
No.
behind the scenes or whatever on this, he said that he was like, Star Wars is live action, and when you're doing animation, there can be a tendency to pay too much homage. So he wanted to do something totally his own in a super Japanese animation style. And so he knew that it would be like super over the top and wanted it to be like that because he didn't want it to be too homagey, like
Sure.
too much
Sure.
like it. And that kind of helped me a little bit because because still like this is not a style that is easy for me. It's not a style that's easy for me, and I still don't fully get it, and it's still not my favorite. So I think it's interesting that like I like it in principle, and I like even the themes that they were talking about in the behind the scenes. But just because I'm less familiar with this sort of wrapping paper, this sort of container, it was harder for me to access.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Like, and it's funny because I'm wearing the T-shirt with the twins on it. Like, which is funny because this is probably not my. I don't know. Okay, I've enjoyed, and we kind of talked about this like last week, which is like I almost like none of these things could go wrong in my eyes.
Yeah.
Because I just like love their existence. I think it's like there's just the fact that they're doing any of this makes it like an okay in my book in terms of like my opinion on them. Like it's all like such a interesting and unique idea that I'm just glad that it exists. So like you said, in principle I like it, but it, like you're right, like in some ways I'm just like this is a pace of medium. This is a style of medium and media that I just I'm not really familiar with, and I couldn't connect with it. I guess is the best way. Like I'm intrigued by it, and I'm like happy that somebody made this and they did it the way that they did it. But it definitely wasn't the one that like resonated with me, in a deep way. So I think it's probably the best way I can put it.
And Justin, who is familiar with Studio Trigger, he liked it, so that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was hoping for this when they announced like an anime Star Wars show. I was hoping giant, crazy Force anime fights like this, because this has got to be the most extra Force fight that we've had like ever. Right? It's just like so insane, and in some ways, like the Force is so anime, isn't it? Like it's like Super Saiyan, right? It's kind of like it has such a home in anime because there's usually these crazy power fights, right, Justin? If I'm kind of just talking out of my what right now, but
no, totally, yeah, like super hyper power, super thing. I was watching this. Dad, we watch these every week, and the first thing he said is like, "Remind me of that show you watched as a kid, Dragon Ball Z." It was like, yeah,
Okay.
super Saiyan, crazy power. Let's go so over the top with like the amount of energy something is dispelling, and that's what they did with not only the Force fight but the kyber crystal itself. I thought that was interesting. Like, we know that they're these powerful crystals that at least make lightsabers and have some other things, but I don't think I've seen it used as like this massive power source before. And
Right.
it was a really big crystal too. I'm used to them being small. I mean, my experience with seeing them on screen, I'm used to them being like small. But this was kind of used as a total power source.
Huge.
Yeah, like they struck a gold or whatever. They struck kyber crystal. Anyway, should we do some music examples?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be mostly a guesser.
Okay,
this
that's
week.
fine.
I have one little example.
Okay.
Percussively, but I'm prepared to be a guesser this week.
Do you want to do it first?
I'll save it.
Okay,
I'll pepper it in there somewhere.
All right.
All right.
I can go first.
Okay.
All right.
All right. I'll try not to be so predictable.
I don't even know how you could be predictable in this thing. Honestly, part of the reason why I felt ill-equipped on this week is because I'm just like, there's just so much going on in this score,
Well, hopefully you can hear this. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. My cat is standing on the mixer and she's changing some stuff. Her paw is on there. Damn it.
Anakin on the mix.
Oh, she just made this thing. Okay. She just made something sound crappy. So, Justin, why don't you go first?
Okay. Hopefully we can pick the same thing, because this is like we were saying, this score was so crazy. There's only a few things I could pick out. You'll hear this coming in. Okay. Here we are.
I love both Maya and Xanthe's face right now.
Hold on, still going.
Wow, Justin.
I had to do the whole thing because I really liked this part, and I can hear it.
Oh, I think I know what spot this is. Oh my god. Justin! Oh my god.
Yeah, I gotta do
That's
something
so
else.
much you transcribed. I think Justin just transcribed more than any of us have transcribed this entire run of this show.
Maybe for visions.
That was so.
This one
Yeah.
was slow.
Was
All
that
right,
the
do we
choir?
have
Was that
any?
a choir part?
It was a choir part, yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. This was choir kicks in when they're I couldn't totally understand like what was happening in this moment, but it was kind of like where they're like astral projecting from the fight, right?
Right.
Is that what was going on in this moment? Can someone clear that up for me?
That's what I was trying to figure out. It took me. I mean, I
have no
I
clue
know
what was
what the
going
heck
on.
was going on, but I watched the episode a couple times, and definitely the first time it happened, I was really. But
Because that's what it looked like. It looked like they were
it
in
looked
the
like,
middle of a fight, and then they all of a sudden were speaking like as spirits in the middle of.
yeah. The only thing I could, and I'm probably doing this no justice at all. The only thing I could think of was like their twin power, maybe because they were created one and the same. They had like a dyad thing kind of like going
Yeah.
on, and it was this moment of I think he was trying to get her to see what was I personally think he was lying in a way. I think
Oh, interesting.
he managed to, as a way to convince her to stop. He in this moment was able to take over. I'm totally going off of so many different things here. And found a
Jonah
way
says they
to
saw a vision into the future.
vision it, yeah, a vision,
Okay,
right?
that's what happened.
Into the future, but like he was able to force project into her mind during this moment when they're fighting over this kyber crystal and kind of be
Interesting.
like, do you see what's gonna come of you? You're gonna die. This was my vision, and we know it by the end of it. She doesn't die, but
Okay, yeah, I didn't. Okay, yeah,
you know,
I
this
did
is
get
kind
that
of a
part.
way of saying
For
like,
the record.
you know, do you see the evil in this? I'm trying to save you, or buy time
Yeah.
during this moment. I don't think he saw. I personally didn't feel like he like. I think he was making stuff up, like
Interesting.
kind of a thing. But yes, this is the choir scene, choir and some strings, kind of one big unison line with a few little harmonies. But really, it was just kind of this featured through composed line, and it almost got me into this. Was it?
I was gonna say it reminded me slightly of the Emperor.
Slightly.
Sure.
Super slightly at first.
It's all those chromatics and those
Yeah.
half steps kind of doing the thing, and it being like this low choir until the end, kind of a thing, ominous.
That's
So,
crazy that you transcribed that whole thing, Justin. That's
it was
amazing.
a fun one. I liked that one. Well, the rest of it was kind of like and I was kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna find the easy part.
That's so fun.
All right.
So, I'll do one.
Cool. Um,
Okay. I have two theories. One, it's either it's very imperial sounding. It's got that marchy kind of thing
Yeah.
going on. It feels to me that this is either kind of in the beginning when we're introducing Am and three or our three evil R3PO or R2. What was his name? R2 R
Duo?
something. No, not
Oh,
R
the
Duo.
evil one.
The evil 3PO. That's
The
all
evil
I like.
3PO.
Right.
The
Yeah, the
evil
evil
3PO that for some reason he needs an oxygen tank.
He needed a
when he's
helmet.
outside, but the two human beings are completely fine out in space without their helmets on.
So I feel is that part, or when they're sneaking into the hangar and finding the X-wing, and then like the two Chicken Walker AT-ATs come out,
Yeah.
ATSTs come in out of nowhere.
That was really cool.
Yeah, this sounds like this is like when they're on the bridge, right? When they were being introduced to her, right? Her and the droid, and they're saying like, oh, something about the command center or something like that.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
yeah,
we're ready to deploy and are awaiting
exactly.
your command. That's
That's precisely what it is. Good job. So
the dual Star Destroyer.
it was like very Yep. Or Jonah says near the beginning when An is walking to the front of the ship. Yeah, a little after. But yeah, it was exactly what James said. It was like, we are ready to deploy. Ready for your command or whatever. It's very March-like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a very...
Got some snare drum under there.
I thought it was very catchy. I wrote like catchy March.
Yeah. It goes down a third, right?
Well, yeah.
Like I
yeah.
So
an augmented an augmented second.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever. A minor
Yeah.
third, it's fine.
But the point is that like that interval, thirds in a march, are very, the Imperial March obviously is all about thirds, right? So that there's a little bit of a, having that something in a minor key and kind of revolve around those thirds.
It felt very clearly like villainous march.
Oh yeah,
a nice little dark march and a very solid, a solid theme. There were a couple like solid themes in this that were very like reminiscent of, like that were very clearly recalling something from Star Wars, and this was one of them. That catchy minor string based march, and then another one was like, I wrote pseudo Star Wars hero theme. I didn't transcribe it, so how does it go? Oh yeah. Okay, now I remember. Yeah.
Yep.
Did you all catch that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was that one of yours, Justin?
No, but it was something I did. No. There's definitely, but it's something I wanted to talk about eventually in this episode. Because it reminds me of another space theme.
Oh.
Very famous space theme.
What does it remind you of?
Star Trek, actually. So their version is, what was it? Kind of a thing at the end, and then the Star Trek theme goes.
Oh. Okay.
Interesting.
It's got that same minor seventh kind of.
Huh.
I feel like hero themes, and like I don't know, maybe we'll have to try to write our own sometime. But I feel like there are elements that you just mix, like throw them in a blender, mix and match, come out a hero theme.
Oh, totally.
It would be
kind of whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Well, that's one.
Yeah, there we are.
There we go. There we go.
Which that's the Spaceballs theme there.
Are you serious?
Yes. Oh, that's great.
So perhaps this is a purposeful or accidental or coincidental homage to heroic space themes.
Space.
Well, it definitely
Spaceballs.
is. I mean,
Yeah.
but probably not Spaceball. Well, I don't know. We don't know.
Could be.
Which in itself was an parody of everything.
Yeah, of course. Oh, that's
Oh my
hilarious.
gosh. Do you have another one, Justin?
No, that was the only one I
Okay,
managed
I
to
have a few.
Okay.
Okay, let's do this.
Whoa,
All right.
I'll jump in. I'll jump in here.
Oh, we got
Ooh,
a
okay.
little percussion
All right,
one.
so
coming.
I actually am playing this on basically the instrument it's being played on, in the score, except not really quite, but it's close enough. All right, my chord is
It's not-
all over. All right, okay, cool.
Ooh. Yes, this was that part. You know, when there's the things happening. That's great.
Does it ring a bell?
I'm stumped.
Was it?
So
At
there's a big. I'll give you.
7:46?
I mean, there's a big xylophone unison with unison
Give
with
you a hint. It was really obvious. Okay, it wasn't that funny, James. Chill out.
It was very funny because that's a ridiculous thing for you. I'll give you a hint. The thing I played on xylophone was played on xylophone in the score. All right. Yeah. So that's the thing is that the hint is that the thing I just played is how it sounds in the score. Anyway, yeah, you're right. That was very funny. Yeah, but this is like the only really big like percussive mallet part in the entire episode.
Can you play it again?
But yeah. All right. And then a couple seconds later. Yeah. What did you say, Xanthe, before?
Nothing.
You made a guess. You made a guess.
Yeah, I did. I said it's at 7:46.
Yeah, yeah, exactly there.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Casually sitting on the right answer. It's fine. Play it again. For these folks.
All right, at 7:46, this happens. Something like that. I mean, some of the mixing is just there's so much going on. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's like
it's
even just hard to hear like what exactly was the rhythm there, or what was the part, right? But that's basically, those are definitely like the right notes for the most part. But yeah, so what's happening right there, Xanthe?
I don't know, but there.
But we know that it's at 7:46.
Yeah, there. It reminded me also of like the TIE Fighter. You know, the syncopated rhythms also kind of reminded, like, it was like sort of a thing happening at the same time, right? Yeah. So like that part reminded me of the asteroid field, or something, you know, something like that. So
but there is somewhat of an asteroid field. Basically, this is when they're both force pulling the reactor, and it's frozen in there, and you've got all the debris that's frozen in there. And there's like some,
that's right.
You know, jun, 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 jun. And then actually, I actually played it under tempo. It's actually a lot faster. It's something like this.
Show off.
Right. So that's really what it actually is. So
you can play very fast, James. Shona says, I don't remember the xylophone. See, it was mixed very. It was, to be honest, I think I only recognized it because that spot reminded me of other things, and I recognized recognized the rhythms, and I recognized some of the overall texture of it, and because of that, I was like, oh yeah, there is a xylophone. It was sort of,
Right.
it was like sort of a backwards way of remembering of noticing it. Um, anyway, I'll do
Yeah.
another one. Let's see. It's on a bassoon, so it's kind of.
Oh, okay.
Let's.
If you may just gave it away, then
Oh damn it!
yeah, I know exactly where this is.
Blah 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 blah.
So, yeah, what do you think, Justin?
It when you said bassoon, I lost it. I was thinking it was a little later when we get some X-wing action happening. But
So
where is
so
it?
this yeah, did anybody in the chat figure it out? So this is where what is the twins' name? The guy, what's his name?
Kare.
Kare, that's right. So it's where he's sneaking around and he's like in the hangar, right? Sneaking in the hangar,
Yup.
hiding in the hangar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good job.
I just remember the bassoon because honestly, it was in that moment where I was like, "Oh my god, we finally get like just like one instrument."
Oh, there
Just
were
like
some
what?
before. There were some other ones, but I get what you're saying. Like it was
Where?
It also was a very defined like it's not.
I guess in the
usual.
very beginning of the episode, we get that like solo celeste and stuff. But once it kicks in up into there, I didn't really hear a break. I was just like, man, this is just going. Everything is happening, and this was like a nice moment. It's just like not much happening, just one bassoon playing, and just some sneaking.
Yeah.
Some good old
Jonah
fashioned
said
sneaking.
it sounded very sneaky, and I think, yeah. I mean, the nature of that line, it kind of goes like there's like fast notes, and then there's sort of stops, and it's sort of like tiptoeing around, like
Yeah,
you know, yeah.
that's cool.
Dee, 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 dee. Yeah,
Yes.
definitely sounds very sneaky. And I don't know, it feels like bassoon and like bass clarinet are used for that type of sneaky cue. I don't know.
Hey, they're the sneaky instruments.
Yeah.
Sneaky instruments.
Maybe because they're so quiet, they have to be like featured in that sense. It's like, oh, okay, bring in the boat, kind of thing. Orchestra's got to come down. Okay, what do we do?
There are some instruments where you just kind of there's like certain what's the word, like moods or styles that you just need to know how to be able to play. Like if you're a harpist, you need to be able to go like you need to be able to go do that very well.
Luckily, that's the
The
easiest
dreams,
one.
the dream or the underwater.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a bassoonist, you need to know how to sneak. You know, what are some other cliches?
You know what's funny is like I've actually written like a few articles. You can find them. You can find them online. I've written one about like the bass clarinet as how it's used, and the stereotypes. I've written one about the tuba.
Yeah.
And I've written one about the viola.
What are the stereotypes of viola?
Well, it's not like the articles were just like about the like here, let's do all the stereotypes. Oh, okay. But you know, I do talk about what they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
To me, the stereotype is it's just used less than the violin.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the stereotypes tend to be like with viola players, but look, the viola article, I just looked it up because I didn't remember. It wasn't published by me. It was published, I wrote it on assignment. It was Get to Know the Quintessential Underdog of the Orchestra, the Viola.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to all my viola players. I love viola, actually. And that's why I'm saying it's underused. Like people just don't write for it for some reason, even though it's like a incredibly versatile instrument,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big viola fan.
Same here. I did a string orchestra piece back in high school, And I remember I got my orchestra to sight read it somehow. And the first thing my director said, turned to me and was like, you gave the violas a really strong part. You never give the violas a strong part. It's because of their position in the orchestra. And I remember being like, can we move them? Before, me being the snarky high school kid. But,
Did
Well, I mean, you're right.
yeah, can we just move them then? I love viola. No, I mean they were just sight reading it for me to prove that I wrote a bad piece, but it was fun. it was a good learning moment for me. Never write anything for viola apparently, but no, I love the viola. Flute stereotype is like we need to either be a bird or
Yeah.
the sun is rising.
Yeah, you just gotta go to
Kind
that.
of thing.
That's true.
These sing-song things.
Yeah,
That's right.
The viola exists. So I have another example.
Do it.
Okay. What instrument? This would be easier on the viola, actually. Oh, this is criminal. It needs to be a lot lower.
Okay, we're not bothered. Y'all didn't notice that my xylophone part was down the octave, so.
Is this a solo line? There's much more
I can play
happening
more.
around.
I can play more.
Hmm.
All right. Getting ready.
Huh, okay. Okay, is this like, what do you think, Justin? I don't want to jump over anybody else's guesses.
No, go ahead.
Is this like the intro to the episode when it's like zooming into through the corridors before like?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
What?
Honestly, I just remember because
tipped you
that
off?
was the first. What'd you say?
Oh, I said what tipped you off?
What ticked me off?
No, no.
Well,
Like what?
this guy cut me off in traffic yesterday. No, what tipped me off? So this, well, for one, like, this is atonal, is it not? Like, I can't
pretty,
really
yeah.
hear. I can't hear a tonal center. So
This
part
sounds
of
a
my,
little
I remember,
creepy, says William.
yeah,
It does.
and atonal for folks watching that maybe don't necessarily like know that term. Atonal means like instead of having one note that feels like it's like the home base of the piece, right? Like in a major scale or whatever. This would be the tonal center, right? Or even if you're doing a non, major scale, something.
So it's lacking
Still,
a
that
central
still,
pitch.
still it feels like that's still the note, that's the center pitch, but this feels like right, and so you're like, whoa, where's the main pitch? Well, there isn't one, and that's what that stuck out to me because honestly we don't hear a lot of that these days in film scores, television scores. I know that John Williams has a number of different cues from the original trilogy, at least, like Tatooine and things that are kind of derived by some
I think John Williams has a
atonal.
lot of atonal moments.
I don't think he has a lot, but there's definitely a couple of moments that stick out. And for one, there's like the desert on Tatooine. I'm pretty sure it's like pretty atonal. It's like very derived of like Stravinsky style atonal music, where it's like almost atonal and it kind of isn't.
No, but there no. John Williams
like,
has a lot of atonality, but yeah, not necessarily. I get what you're saying there with like the Stravinsky quote, but like also think of, oh gosh, there's just so many like the magic tree, the mirror cave.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
sort of
So
the
I'm saying that like
spookier
John
parts.
Williams does do this quite a lot, but a lot of like movies and television these days in general don't have a lot of atonal moments. So so this stuck out to me just because I remember when the episode started feeling like, ooh, this is pretty odd.
Oh, so that stood out to you when you watched it. Like,
and I remember, and
wow.
it stood out because it was one of my first impressions from the episode, like being like, this is odd to me, you know? This kind of relates to this cue, and I wanted to throw this out to you because I don't really know what's causing this feeling, but did anyone else get this like weird feeling in this episode, like the way the mood of the episode, or like the way it was paced, or maybe just the way they told the story felt like it's almost like you like missed something, like there was like something that you like, it's like you were being dropped into the middle of a story that was already happening, and there was like
Totally.
yeah, and it's like, and even this music sounds like there's already been something weird happening, and I guess because it's Star Wars, you assume, especially nerds like us, assume that we already know what's going on in the galaxy, like already in Star Wars. Like we already know everything. We've already seen everything like that's already been shown to us. This felt like there was like a whole other Star Wars trilogy that like had already happened, and then we were being dropped in the middle of it. That's, I guess, what it felt like.
We were dropped into the middle of anime Star Wars.
Yeah, and there was like
totally
so much that we missed, you know.
I mean, they had these little tiny flashbacks about them being born and created, but where's that story? And then the idea that now we're introduced to these evil dark side twins, and immediately we know one of them doesn't care for the dark side or the Empire or the Republic. You know, it's definitely felt like exactly what you're describing.
And something like about this music made me feel that way too. I don't know why. I can't really put my finger on it. It was like almost like a synesthesia kind of thing. It was like, this makes me feel like there's something going on, you know, that I'm not privy to, you know?
Yeah, I think if I watched this without the context of it being part of Visions, I would have thought like, oh, what episode of the show is this?
Right.
Exactly, which is funny because I remember watching this, I felt like this, maybe a couple other episodes from Visions, but I was like, this is one that I would want an entire series for some reason. Like more episodes from the like before, and even if this was like the ending episode or like maybe a couple more after, I felt like this one kind of warranted that
for sure,
rather than these like little one-offs that were happening.
Now, would that be because you liked it so much that you want more, or would it be because you think you would have understood it better if it had more context?
Both. I liked the over the topness of this just because I'm a fan of the studio, but I felt like they left so much up to us to discern that more context would have been great, and there's such a story already there that we could have like, okay, we could have gotten here very easily after like a season of something. Like this could have easily been the end, the season finale to like an entire like 12 episode thing going on.
Right.
Hey, Blue Pig Gaming. Did you like the twins? Did you have any highlights? Anyone in? Okay. So here's my thought is like, I mean, we've all been saying this, like that we have just really appreciated Visions. And so like, even though James and I specifically felt more on the outside of this one, just because, you know, we lack the familiarity that you do, Justin, with this particular storytelling style. I think we both agree that we still like even feeling left out. We like feeling like something was created that was for something that we are a little bit feel left out of, because I appreciate the like commitment to the style that they were going for. And I actually do feel that like if I had more of a solid background of not only anime, but like specifically the studio as well, I think I would have been able to jump into it faster, like in my head, I mean, I
Yeah.
watched this episode many times and was still like, what just happened? But yeah, I think that's a case of like, that's on me, I just don't really understand how to follow the story or you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Yeah. I just kept getting distracted and thinking about stuff.
I was
like,
yeah, like
I was
what?
like, like, I don't know, like things would happen and I would just, my brain would just go to these, like, not like I was like bored and I would think about things outside, but like things would trigger my like, just my thought process of like, of like, oh, what, if I saw something particularly insane happen, like like those crazy whip lightsaber things. I was like, I would start to be like, whoa, like how do those work? Like, and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be listening to the music. Oh my god, okay. Anyway, and then like it was just like, oh my god, there's like, now they're like, blowing things up and they're not breathing, like they can breathe outside in space. How does that work?
I
I
didn't
like,
even think about that ever.
yeah,
But Blue Pig Gaming kind of says a similar thing where it like, yeah, pulled me out of it.
yeah.
They say.
How
Yeah,
there was one
once they were,
moment. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Justin, go for it.
oh no, I was just gonna on the breathing comment. Yeah, I was just once they were outside and in space and there was no way to breathe. I was like, okay, suspension of disbelief start
Right,
now, kind of a thing. Either that or they're such powerful dark force beings that they just are able to turn the vacuum of space into air, or ride on the front of an X-wing going through hyperdrive.
Yes.
Interesting.
You know what I'm realizing I like about this whole Visions project. I'm realizing in relation to all this stuff that we're talking about. So I've been watching this Marvel What If show. Have you been watching it, Justin?
Yeah, great show.
Which is great, but like it's like all these things that are happening with the characters that you would normally not be able to see because it breaks their quote unquote canon. But the way that it does that is it just explains, there's multiple universes, right? So there's like things you get to see other characters do that are basically what if scenarios, but they all have an explanation. What I love about this Star Wars Visions thing is that they don't like go out of their way to explain to you like why they're just completely breaking canon and things that they're just doing things with that you wouldn't expect them to do. Like they're like, you know what? Guess what? Kyber crystals, you can just like freaking put them inside your suit and just like blow stuff. You know what I mean? Like they're just like anything goes with this series. They're like, oh, by the way, like you can breathe. You don't have to like these people can just like breathe out in outer space. They're just like they just went for it. They broke things open. They've got like stormtroopers there, and who knows like who they are, and does Darth Vader exist in this universe? Like, I don't know. The whole thing is just like completely flipped on its head, and they're not feeling like they have to explain why. Like, What If does? What If is like, okay, well, it's still in a multiverse, so that's why we can do all these really cool things. Yeah. This is just like, no,
Chill
we're just
out,
doing
everyone. Here's the long-winded,
Yeah. Here's a lightsaber that can. Rainbow and with many things, and then it extends to the size of a Star Destroyer and slices through, which I also I loved the comedic moment where Kare is sitting there and thinking, I don't know if I can try something so risky, and the droid's like, you know what, screw it. It just kind of goes.
I really like that. Yeah, the timing of that was really fun. It was really good.
What's that Bad Batch droid? I can't even remember.
Conquer?
No.
No.
Cad Bane's
the one
Toto.
Toto.
Toto,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Whoa.
Yes.
See, Bad Batch was so long ago. I think one thing that they did talk about in the special feature or whatever, there's like a behind the scenes, talk with the director for each of these episodes.
Mhm.
One thing that I liked that they talked about there is how with 2D animation, you can really play with scale in a dramatic way. Like
Oh,
you can make things, you can flip a character around and then it's suddenly their lightsaber is super, super, super long. And like you can just really play with scale in a way that you can't as much with, like a more realistic 3D style. And so I really, it seemed like, Jonah here is saying, I think the droid having a helmet might have been a joke at the fact that humans could breathe, but droids couldn't. And I think like a lot of this, they definitely were like exploiting what they could do. Having like genuinely having fun with it or like just going all out. And this also makes me think of like a criticism that people often have with live action remakes of animated Disney films. And I share most of the critique personally, but animation definitely allows for a much wider set of, I don't know, suspension of disbelief moments.
Mhm.
Like animation, in animation, like anything is possible. I don't know, you can just get away with more things that are not super realistic. And so a lot of the things that we love from like, I don't know, Disney films, like I didn't actually see the live action Mulan, but like, I love the animated Mulan. Like a lot of the things that just take place there, if you try to like make them live action, and like in a super serious way, it almost is like comes off as it just is not the same,
It's like The Lion King. Did you see the Lion King remake?
No, but like
Well,
yeah,
all
I
the
only saw
lions,
like,
they don't express any. They didn't make
Mhm.
them have any type of facial, like human-like facial expressions. So it's basically a like whatever hour and a half long musical sung by animals that look hyper realistic that are not emoting at all. It's like bizarre. It's
but
like
that's the
it's
thing.
like
Like
watching.
if they were
Yeah.
emoting, that would be even more like maybe uncanny valley. But that's the thing is like
Yeah. Well,
if
I
it
feel
was
like
created
they
for
should have. Yeah.
animation, then it's really tricky to bring something like that into live action. And so,
Yeah.
obviously, that's not the problem with Star Wars. But I think I like how like these animators have like reclaimed the flip side of it is like Star Wars is live action, and so in doing animation, like they're gonna put smiles on the lions' faces and whatever.
Right. I think that's cool, and what's funny is that this debate about these, what they've done with these types of moments in this type of episode are things that they sometimes have done in the new movies that people, that the internet blows up about because like there's not an logical explanation, but like for instance, The Last Jedi with the bombs falling out of the thing and it's in space, and all the bombs falling out of the thing in space. Like there's a corner of the internet that was very hypercritical of that particular moment
I
in
remember
the
that,
Last
yeah.
Jedi. And those are the moments like no, like do not sacrifice awesomeness of like space bombs in my Star Wars movies just because you feel like tentative about explaining it to these crazy fans. Like I want more of those ridiculous moments in my Star Wars. I don't really need like this episode took it to like the nth degree, so maybe if I saw a new live action movie and they were doing all like basically just like completely throwing caution to the wind, maybe I would have a little bit more of like that was a little bit over the top.
I actually do care a little bit.
You care about the bombs?
No, I don't care about the bombs, but I don't think I would want something that was like so over the top. Like I wouldn't want animation levels. Like I still do.
Yeah, that's
like
what I'm
there
saying.
being-
That's what I'm saying.
I still do like
So
believing that I'm in a sort of real world. So like little things, I can justify them with little like Blue Pig Gaming says the bombs are magnetic. They are drawn to the dreadnought's hull. So like
right.
those things for me have explanations
We can always
that I
come
feel
up
like
with
could
some
be
other.
made. But like I don't want everyone to just like be like let's just everyone start flying, or like I don't want everyone. Yeah,
agreed. So that's what I'm saying. So like I want them to like push the envelope a little bit, but not go so far where it like looks like something like this episode. But I do like I enjoy, like Justin was saying in that one Bad Batch episode, he's like, how do bikes work? Like how do they need
Like a
the
Jedi?
ground or no? Because remember we were talking about the speeder bike, how they were able to
yeah.
just like fly as high as they want in the air, but for some reason in Return of the Jedi they have to be like some type of close proximity to the ground. So it's like, well, how do these things actually work? Are they propelling across against the ground, or can they just fly like as far as they want? There's not a really clear answer to how the bikes work. So or the bow. Like, why do we need to have a freaking bow and arrow laser? Like, so, anyway, point is, I want there to be more awesome, ridiculous things in my Star Wars, and so I don't care about the answer to these questions as much as the next fan. However, I agree with you, Xanthe, that I also don't want them to go so far that it's like we get something that resembles this episode of Visions. So
Yeah.
Well, I
just-
still I don't mind that they did that with this episode.
Oh,
of
in
Visions.
this context,
I don't mind
let's
it
do
because
it.
it's animated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Animation has that ability to just if you can draw
Well,
it, you
here's a
can make it
Smiles
happen.
on the lines, faces.
Yeah.
Here's a question. If you saw the characters, like if you watch Clone Wars or Bad Batch and you see like some of the Jedi characters, like the acrobatics that the CG characters can pull off in those shows is like you'll never see those types of fight choreography like in live action. Like Ahsoka is like doing flips and jumping off a like Rosario Dawson is probably not going to be doing those types of stunts, at like the CG characters. Like if you saw your live action Jedi do that in a in a show, don't you think that you'd probably be like, that was a little bit over the top? If you saw like a real person
But
doing
they
that,
just wouldn't. They just
Yeah.
wouldn't.
I think the
well, they could
closest we
probably
got to that-
CG it to make it like it to look like they.
But
could
I don't
do
think
it.
they would need to, because I think like
Right.
I think you would still get like a similar effect with a much less dramatic. Like I think
Right.
the medium just wouldn't
It
necessarily.
just lends itself to that.
Yeah, because when
think-
we see like a human on screen, I think we can relate more to their physics.
Yeah.
Right. I think the closest we got to that was Darth Maul, because he was an actual
Right.
martial arts fighter.
That's true.
A trained martial artist doing these
But
kind
still,
of
more
like
reason.
there's some,
You know.
but still like the physics of it still,
Oh,
it still
totally.
somehow made sense. And I mean, with live action, I would say doesn't really have to. Or I think the bar for animation is to make things look more physically grounded, like in real life. So I don't know,
Awesome.
ungrounded.
Yeah.
It might look impressive, but I think people would probably be more impressed if it looked like actually someone was falling, or like in a realistic way,
Right.
Totally. Once we had Yoda doing flips, it was all over.
Well, yeah, that's the example, right? Because that looks crazy when he's doing that, right? Like that does not look like a real being. Like that's definitely a CGI moment, like Clone Wars moment. It looks pretty ridiculous. I mean, I love that scene. I remember that scene. in the
It
theater.
didn't bother me at the time.
Oh, yeah, same.
It
No,
doesn't
When I was a
at all.
kid, I was like, yes.
It never
Yeah.
bothered me. It was like, yes, Yoda, do it.
In retrospect, though, it's pretty ridiculous.
You might be right.
But yeah, it's awesome. And I'm just okay. You mentioned Darth Maul. I'm just going to use this as a more opportunity to like manifest and throw this out into the universe. Ray Park wants to play him. Let's see him. Come on, like he still wants to do it.
Visions, everyone.
We have an Obi-Wan show coming up.
Visions.
Well, no, I mean I'm talking about in live action. I'm talking about Ray Park wants to
wanna
do
see it.
Darth Maul. Like where
I
is
wanna
he?
see it.
Where is he? Obviously he was in Solo, but I want to see him fighting. Okay, come on,
James, it
Obi-Wan
sounds like you have
Kenobi
a
show. Let's
really
hear it.
angry letter to write.
I do.
I will sign that letter too.
Good.
I have.
Hey,
a sound.
while I'm yapping, why don't I give you another thing for you
Okay. Mhm.
to tell me where this is in the episode? Okay.
Okay. Mhm.
And this
All
is a
right.
really cool moment. All right, here we go. Check it out. It's not on xylophone, but I'm gonna play it on xylophone.
Okay.
Okay. 1 second. Dun 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 dun. Okay, so here we go.
Huh.
I'll do it again. It was supposed to be in octave unisons, not random left hand wrong notes. I'm like not in a great position to play my instrument right now. Okay, one second. There's a big moment where the entire orchestra plays that, basically.
Oh, was it at the end? Was it at the very, very end? Oh my gosh. Can't
Nope.
believe- Oh.
Because we get rhythms like that when they're up on the space battle. I mean, Star Destroyer in space. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
They're on the Star Destroyer outside in space.
Did you say whole orchestra?
The whole orchestra
whole
does this.
orchestra
And
does
the
this.
reason why I picked this, because it's kind of an interesting thing that happens visually with this particular rhythm and part.
It's not as he's singing the kyber crystal through her
It's
suit.
not when he's
No. Yeah.
It's not when what?
I say when just after he says punch it and he slices through her suit.
No, not there.
Is it when she puts the kyber crystal in her body?
No.
Okay, yeah, that was a guess.
So this is right when the thing explodes, the core explodes. That has the that he stole, right? And it explodes in this rhythm. It goes ka 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 ka, and then it explodes like that. So they like
Okay. Is there is the harmony sort of like what'd you play?
A flat. Yeah.
Is it like this? So is it sort of like that?
There is some kind of weird dissonant harmony going on. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I just thought it was really interesting. It was just like so scored right to the moment that even like the core was like rhythmically breaking. It was like ka 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 brink, and then it's open, right? It's kind of
there were
did that.
Yeah, okay. I feel like there were a few really strong in that I mean like declarative. I feel like there are a lot of declarative rhythmic moments in this, sort of like what you speak of, and of course the end is like definitely an example where like the end is like a very pronounced definitive ending to the episode, like pretty over the top. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It's like and this is the end, and let's just do a few more hits so you know this is the end. It's the end. It's the end.
It's so true.
Okay, I have to rewatch that. That's okay, that sounds cool.
It was cool. I thought that was a moment where I was like, oh, there is some sort of connection here with the with the visuals and the score.
There's a note that I wrote down around 6:30, and I just realized how much this reminds me of Space Mountain. There's a lot of like high pitched, super fast violin runs, and I was like, is this like what's traveling through space kind of is? Like I guess it's a scoring trope that I never thought of because I associate it just with Space Mountain, where it's like it's just really frantic, high pitched violin runs that must be like super freaking impossible to play. Like I've tried, it's very hard, and this totally had that, where it sounds like effortless, but it's like very effortful, but it almost sounds like it's pitched up because it's just so like I don't know. I guess like hyper light speed feels that way too.
Only you would like know what the music at Space Mountain sounds like.
Justin,
I love that music.
You know it too, Justin? Okay.
Justin and I almost did a cover of it, so.
All right.
It's still in my head. It's still in my mind. I'm
just like, you're like, that sounds like the music.
Justin and I have actually gone to Disneyland together a fair amount of times.
Okay. Well, I need to go with you.
Back in the day,
what's going on?
We
need to go to Galaxy's Edge together, y'all.
I know. One day. So there's a cat in the house, so I'm just going to try to ignore her. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to not positively reinforce this behavior.
Tiny.
So,
Sorry.
she can't hear you. A wild loth cat appears. That, you know what?
Oh, that's
From now on,
hilarious.
when I'm doing Star Wars streams, she's a loth cat. There we go.
She's a lot.
That's
Love it.
hilarious.
There were a couple sound designy things that I wanted to bring up. One of them was like the droids. A lot of the speech sounded super metallic.
Yeah, I agree. They were and they were really
Like
trying
more
to
so
go
than
for
normal droids, more so than the
Yeah.
droids that I'm used to.
yeah. I felt like they were at least I'm just gonna call him evil C-3PO. Was kind of a high not quite the Anthony Daniels thing, but there was kind of still like a rhythmic homage to it almost. It's
Hmm.
definitely a different voice actor, but because the protocol droids all kind of memory all kind of have this like
They have a metallic.
smarty pants tone, but yeah, but the voices were incredibly metallic, and then our duo was like, let's just take every R2D2 sample that there is and string them together. Um,
But
I was
then
a
they like
little. I was.
really
Sorry,
turn.
continue.
No, this is not it. I'm trying to find something. I'm still. This is not it. I
But
guess what I
yeah,
was gonna say was like, as I keep saying, continue on, and then I'm like, but I have one more thing to say. I mean, yes, it sounded like C-3PO ish, but I feel like they really turned up something like the metallicness of it. I don't know, the treble. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
The metallicness of it
what
was
is
yeah,
really dialed up.
agreed. It had this high end kind of not nasal, but just that almost like when you get cymbals through a YouTube video that it's got that kind of sound to it.
Yeah,
It's like
You know what?
yeah,
You
that's what it
ever
kind of sounded like
I mean,
to
it
me.
sounded kind of like
you
cheap
ever
filtering.
talked into a you ever talked into a fan before? Like a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not.
That's what.
Oh, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, to me it sounded just like that. Like it's like when you go and you get that like going on
It's
in
been
front
a
of your.
long time since I've talked to a fan, but
I
now
get,
that
you
you
got
are mentioning
yeah.
it,
It's
Kind
been
of
a long
amplitude.
although
time
without
since
not as
I've
much of
talked
like
into
the
a fan.
wavering though.
Yeah, but like a very fast fan kind of a thing where you're
Very
getting
fast.
like almost like a what was it in the synth world we call it amplitude modulation. Some people
Mhm.
call it a
Ooh.
tremolo. Um, uh, in that it's like short little cuts in a continuous signal kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I
Um,
know what you mean.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
S-
We
I
did
feel
that.
like
We did
that's
that
kind of
one.
It's kind of
We did
characteristic of
that one
like the
time on
whole
here.
episode in general, which is very the high ends. It's very like high heavy,
mhm.
which makes sense for. I mean, I feel like it makes sense for a very fast paced animated. Probably aimed toward kids or whatever, just in that style of fast cartoon. Goes by fast. It's like pitched up. Everything is sort of like high.
Totally.
I think we made it work one time on the stream whereby just switching down my gain back and forth. If I keep doing this, if I keep talking when I'm doing
Okay.
this, it kind of
But
does that
like
work?
20 times as
Way
fast.
faster.
20 times as fast.
Yeah.
I think I did on one of the Bad Batch streams when we were talking about Cad Bane's voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
what we were talking about. It's
we
very
did a little
similar to
example
Cad
for that.
Bane. Yeah, it's very similar to Cad Bane's voice.
Another
It's
thing
got
is
this.
we didn't even talk about it. There was an Imperial Siren.
Yep.
Death Star Siren.
Yep. One of my favorites. They
Yep.
had the Imperial Siren in there. Was, that was right when she says, "Fire the hyper cannon," and it just goes off, and they're like, "Oh, okay, something's wrong."
Yeah.
That was
So
good.
that was the original Death Star sound.
Yeah,
Pretty
I was
cool.
curious. I get there's a little sidetrack, but I was curious if this double Star Destroyer perhaps was a replacement for said Death Star, another project of the Death Star. Assuming that we're kind of in the same universe here, but like maybe there's an alternate version of said Death Star. Um, but
I
speaking
like
about
to think
sound,
that it was like some like completely non-creative designer was like, what if we just like took 2 Star Destroyers and just
Put them
put them
together.
together, right? And there's like this is an alternate universe where they actually listen to that moron, and like. But in reality, in the real canon timeline, they're like, no, that's ridiculous.
Well, the director did say that like basically they just did what they thought would look cool.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. No, and that's
Which
the thing,
which
it's
bridge controls the ship? Like hold on here. Is there someone in the dead center to steer this thing? It's
that's
like the
such a good
Millennium
point. Like, how
Falcon
do
where
you
the
steer it?
cockpit's off on the side and it's like how do you know where you're going, man? I guess it's radars and 70s
Yeah,
sensors.
it's kind of like
But,
taking like a bunch of Star Destroyers and like putting a bunch of Death Star lasers on the bottom of them, and then just
like a dreadnought, right?
and then just having an entire a planet that has an entire army of them,
Yeah. One of the sounds I loved in this was, I mean, it was excessive, of course, but the lightsaber and the laser whips, and it was they. Sorry, I know Annie can't hear me, so I'm positively reinforcing more cats on the stream. But the laser whips kind of thing, and just the amount of like living electricity is what it sounded so organic to me, and you could almost feel the voltage. I mean, I know it's a laser sword, but like the voltage coursing through you throughout these scenes. um
Mm-hmm.
and the way that it was mixed, it was like coming at you from all directions. I mean, Am had these like kind of almost like a Spider Man Doc Ock kind of thing going on. And then, like I said, when they became lightsabers, it was like, oh, it's General Grievous with 2 more arms, kind of a thing. Which again, I was like, which is funny because in those Star Wars films, like, how many lightsabers can this villain have? And I thought it was the umbrella from the first episode of Visions was gonna, okay, here we go, the most extreme evil lightsaber we can get. But this person had lightsabers, Doc Ock arms, and then the laser shoe. She had a little stiletto that popped out of that shot like for a brief second. Either I don't know if it was another like lightsaber
I'm
beam or if it
so
was a
glad that
laser.
Justin visually tracked all of these things. I'm like,
Yeah, likewise.
this is where a
She
lot of
did
stuff
that.
was happening.
It was so much.
Were they
But,
good? Did they both end up evil? Like, what happened?
I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Laser stilettos. Next thing to the next
Laser
big fat
stilettos, yeah.
stilettos kind of a thing.
That could have been the
Um,
name of that the band from
Band?
last week.
the band.
The Laser Stilettos. But I have to say, within the context, and I know that like you can't. This is just the age that we live in now, in terms of like streaming, and when you dump a whole season, like you can't control this, and neither of these none of the stews can control this. But I think by the time that this, I was so like, there's so much coming at me from the first 2. I watched this whole thing in a row, like the
I
whole
know.
season
Well,
in a row.
I
know.
didn't. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
But for me, this is where I started to feel a little fatigued this episode when I first did my first
Already
run through. I was just like,
three of 9.
and it's because of this episode. It's just so much. It was like, honestly, I was just like, whoa, like there's so much in this season that I was honestly glad to go and watch this a couple times by itself, because you're right. Like everything that Justin just described is all happening like within the span of like 2 minutes,
Yeah.
Which is pretty.
It's crazy.
Pretty
Yeah.
I'm sure if we won't slow down the episode, like
Then it would be like normal speed.
like normal speed kind of it. Like, well, I mean, we slowed down the episode, we'd see it at normal speed. Slow it down even more, we'd be catching all sorts of things that they probably just, again, animation, quick sell, it's done.
Right.
Well, we're
Exactly.
saying all this now, but next week we're talking about The Village Bride, which is obviously, I mean, all of these are so different. So
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, it'll be super interesting also to get to the other trigger one.
Right, which was very different from this episode.
Very different. Yeah.
That was the what do you call it?
Elder.
The Elder, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
very
Elder.
different from that.
Super
Yeah.
different. Yeah. So on that note, I think we're about done. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And next week will be something completely different.
completely.
Yeah, pretty different things to talk about for all these episodes, which is cool.
So many.
Which has
Yeah.
been
It'll be a
really
whole
fun
like
to
different
live stream.
conversation for the next few, for all of them, really.
Yeah,
But I'm excited.
Yeah, like last week we were playing guitar and drum set and like, singing.
Yeah.
This week we've got like all these weird little
But like super orchestral, but like really
Yeah.
fast and like just everything so overstimulating, or like not necessarily overstimulating, but very stimulating.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
I'm
then
looking forward
next week will be a little bit more of one with more space in it.
Mhm.
I think we have a Village Bride fan here.
Yeah, it's a really cool one.
It will be very intriguing to discuss.
Yes.
I think next week we're on for the normal time on Saturday. Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah. Thank you for going. Thank you for doing this with me. I am grateful to Visions for coming out and for giving us like all this cool stuff. Anakin, Jesus, it's cool stuff to talk about. And yeah, everyone, just wait till we get to episode 9 because that
Yeah,
features
I'm
an
looking forward
instrument
to that
that
one.
James plays very well. So
Yes. Really
Uh,
looking forward to that talk.
Not like that though. But yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah.
yeah,
can't play-
yeah,
can't
yeah.
play it like that.
We'll table
But,
that discussion. We'll table that discussion. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back again next week to talk about the 4th episode of Visions. We will almost be halfway done next week. And on that note, I guess we should do our outro.
What's our outro this time?
Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee.